Rouse's Markets is voted best grocery store in New Orleans, best grocery store in Baton Rouge, Mississippi, Gulf Coast, Thibodeau, Houma, Hammond, Lake Charles, Mobile, year after year. Thank you for choosing us best grocery store on the Gulf Coast. Number one. Thank you.
Thank you.
The number one grocery store
In Mississippi, Alabama,
Louisiana. 1 million customers a week can't be wrong. Welcome to Rouse's.
Hello and welcome back to this edition of Bayou Time. Again, your host, Keith Weissite, licensed clinical social worker with Terrebonne Home Care. Very glad you're joining us. However you may be joining us, we appreciate it very, very much. And listen, I know when it comes January, people are thinking about a couple of different things here. They're thinking about king cakes, they're thinking about Mardi Gras, and most people are thinking about crawfish as it goes. We want to go get with the people who are helping us figure that out and all that information. Mr. Todd Fontenot with the LSU Ag Center are one of the crawfish agents. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
All right. We appreciate it. I know you guys have been watching this very closely. We've been really excited here at the beginning of the year since the crawfish seem quite plentiful. They seem a little bit larger than we were last season. Tell us a little bit about what you guys are thinking about since this recent winter storm.
Right. Well, this winter storm was a surprise, and it was some cold temperatures with snow in this part of our region, which is unusual, and the amount of snow is really unusual. But we experienced, really low temperatures for a couple of days, but really slowed down production and almost halted production for a lot of producers that were starting to catch. We are still very early in the season, so we're not expecting the high yields at this time, but we're seeing promising conditions. So the cold weather, the low temperatures came through with the snow, really slowed things down drastically. Crawfish will experience a stop of foraging. They'll stop moving. They'll stop being attracted to baits when temperatures get so low. So they just kind of sit there on the bottom, stay very still. They want to protect themselves. So they're getting down low where the temperatures are actually the warmest. Because of the water insulates and changes much differently than air temperature does. Mm-hmm. So they're down there being very slow as they're cold-blooded. They are affected. So they're protecting themselves from the elements, but they're also protecting themselves from predators. Mm-hmm. Because when they're not moving, they're vulnerable to other animals that will eat them. Right. So as temperatures increase, they're going to get their metabolism back going. They're going to start being attracted to the baits once again. However, with the conditions that we had, they are more likely, and we are seeing that at this time, that they are going into a molt. So that means they are growing. So again, when they are molting, they do go into a state of being very still, because mm-hmm. again, their shells are very soft at that time, and they know that. So they will remain still and then protected once again to protect themselves from predators.
Yeah, and again, we don't expect anything more than just a little bit of a slowdown, right? That we don't need to be fearful that it's going to stop the harvest or stop crawfishing. It's just a slowdown. It's kind of a hiccup, if you will.
Right. It slowed it down for those days, and now we're back up. We were in the 70s yesterday afternoon, so we're getting pretty warm again. So, I've heard some people with catches that have increased and saw a lot more movement, except for in ponds where they can see that they seem to be in a state of molt. Right. Which, again, that does slow them down. But it's a good thing that means they're growing. Right.
Molting means we're growing, moving forward. I'm always glad whenever we have these events. And we kind of talked a little bit about how the snow impacted vegetation. It's pretty similar as well, with the crawfish getting so much closer to the ground, staying near the mud. That ground gets protected from that snow, if you will. It's not experiencing that cold air like we have out in the air. That water is a little bit better protected.
Right. Now, in our crawfish pond situation, if we were having some green vegetation emerge, that was going to be vegetation for later, it may have got impacted somewhat from this freeze by freezing off at the top and then it'll fall into the water and decompose. But it's still early in the season, so I think we can recover, and our vegetation should be okay.
Okay. One of the things that we always look forward to, tell us a little bit about what we can expect as we get into Mardi Gras season. We ought to still have a better crawfish season this year than we did last.
Yes, we're very encouraged. All our initial and early signs ever since flood up back in October were much better than last year. So that indicates that it looks like it's going to be a better season. Last year was just terrible, almost right the worst on record. So, but this year it looks like it's been hopefully more on line with normal. However, Mother Nature can throw these curveballs at us, just like it did last week, and we hope we don't experience something like that again too soon, and for a long extended period of time.
Right. Tell us, we got about a minute and a half in the show left. Tell us a little bit about these snails, this apple snails, and where things stand with it.
Well, apple snails are an invasive species that's giving a lot of our producers quite a bit of trouble. They are those producers who utilize surface water, meaning they pump water out of ditches, canals, other waterways. So they're going to grow. These conditions are really good for apple snails to grow. They can grow quite large, about the size of a baseball. So you have the problem of them getting in the traps. They're competing for the same resources as the crawfish, and they also clog up the traps and the funnels into the traps, so crawfish cannot get in. So for those producers with apple snails, it is quite a problem, and we are doing some work to try to find ways to control them, but it's very difficult because of the environment that they're in.
Well, I got to tell you, we're always excited to hear the good news that we're going to have plenty of crawfish. I know down here we really appreciate all of the work that you guys are doing at the LSU Ag Center, making sure that we are looking at what's impacting the crawfish, what our projections are, and certainly those crawfish farmers, I know they can't do it without y'all. We appreciate your time as always.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Of course, Todd working over at the LSU Ag Center, really letting us know how we're going to do with crawfish this season, which we appreciate. All right, guys, that'll do it for this particular segment and this Bayou Time. But don't go anywhere. A whole lot more local programming right here on HTV.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health System. Your health is our legacy. Rouse's, you're either local or you're not. Buick, the craft of modern luxury. St. Martin and Bork, know your rights.